Welcome to Technology and Education Today. I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford, and we are coming to you from the University of Houston Clear Lake in Houston, Texas, USA.
And today we are discussing job qualifications as earned by students at colleges and high schools and their relevance in today's world where companies seem to be hiring not so much on the degrees that people have, but rather on specifically what they know for a particular job that's available.
And my understanding is that the job market and the schooling component may not actually be driving right now. They may not be aligned well.
Well, that's probably true because the purpose of schools in general, I don't think, are to prepare people for jobs, although professional schools is another story.
Technical schools, you mean?
No, professional schools such as, well, our own School of Education prepares teachers, an engineering school prepares engineers.
We prepare instructional designers and instructional technologists.
Right, and we provide them with a set of skills. But there are all sorts of positions open these days in a variety of companies that for which you would not get training at a college or a university, and neither is a college or a university particularly see its role as doing that type of job training. So that if you take any particular company, there are all sorts of positions available that you, I, or anybody else would never even dream that existed. For example, in the oil fields, there are hundreds upon hundreds of jobs that are available that where would you get the training for that? Well, you could go to a professional school, I imagine, but a school dedicated to that type of training, but that would be in general, private school or a community college.
Or on the job training. What's wrong with working your way up?
Well, that's the thing. So that many of these companies have taken on the responsibility for doing their own job training once they hire somebody. But then the question becomes, do these companies?
So why do you have the degree?
do they then say, well, we don't need a person with a degree, because we can train that person to do the job that we need that person to do. Now, I mean, I can see a problem with that, although it solves an immediate need.
I see both sides of the story on that.
It opens up, yes, there are two sides to the story.
Because it makes sense that if we can train them, we don't need them to have any type of piece of paper, certificate, stating that they have graduated from some program, whether it be high school or an associate degree, bachelor's, master's, doctoral degree, whatever. On the other hand, maintaining and achieving those goals, not only are you capable of presenting yourself as understanding that information and acknowledging with that piece of paper that you've learned and understand the information, but the concept of being able to analyze and synthesize different information and come up with new ideas, be an innovator, be someone who is a problem solver using the knowledge that you'd already gleaned. I can see that both ways. And what is the point of the school? It's to develop decent citizenry, knowledgeable citizenry, citizenry that can analyze what's going on, for example, in the media these days. So
yeah, well,
that's useful, and you actually achieve something. That piece of paper saying that you graduated high school, that you earned your associates, that you earned your bachelor's or graduate degree, that's an achievement that is necessary and appropriate. You fulfilled the obligation. You knew what you needed to do, and you did it.
Well, it's just not the piece of paper. That piece of paper represents a systematic plan of study to develop you as a person, both either at a professional level, if you're in a professional school,
Yes.
or in a general intellectual level, if you are in a liberal arts school or in a humanities course of study or something to that
Being a well-rounded person, you have more than one attitude towards life. You understand different concepts, and you're accepting of different ideas.
Yes, and then you could possibly be even a better candidate for future positions that may open up in a company because you have a larger worldview, to speak in a general term. The other thing is that it is possible.
Well, I don't know if Americans have a world view that would be similar to other people from other countries, because we don't travel. Most Americans don't travel very much, and it's very American-centric view of the globe.
Yes, and that's true, and uh, it's also true of a lot of other companies, but the
A lot of other countries, yes.
Um, but the thing is that now it's possible, because there are so many different ways to gain information, to train oneself, and if a company just simply puts out a test and says, if you can pass this test, we will consider you,
That's fair.
then that provides an alternative method of getting into an initial job. Now, whether or not you can perform beyond that is another story entirely.
True. But there's nothing wrong with saying, we need you to be able to accomplish this type of task. And even in our own degree program in instructional design and technology, in our courses, we have a bunch of theory, models, all of that, and we talk about it incessantly. However, you still need the part where the rubber hits the road. So, very interesting. What can you do with it? What's the point of all this information? And that's a very difficult thing for people to be able to accomplish, is talking about it versus actually using it towards an end product, which I'm thinking about one of my courses, a learning theory course, where we're learning all of these theories, get it, and part of that is the ability to communicate using different types of medium, not only the written word, but also digital enhancements, whether we're talking about audio, video, graphics, anything and everything, to be able to communicate your thoughts about the topic. And a lot of people have problems with that. It's like, this is a theory course. Why aren't we focusing on theory? You're right. This is a theory course. But if you cannot communicate with someone else what your thoughts are and what your philosophical beliefs are, then this is not a useful course. You have to be able to do something with the information, or there's no reason to take the course. You can read a book and get that out of it.
I think that for years and years, what is important, or has been important in the job hunt, is one, that you are educated, and two, the quality of your education. And the quality of the education is generally represented by the quality of the institution that you attended for your education, so that you have certain universities are well known in fields, and in certain fields, and others are well known across a number of fields, so that an employer could feel reasonably confident that once they hire somebody from one of these universities, that they are getting a person who's going to be competent. Now, whether that person is going to be competent across all areas, or whether that person needs additional training from the employer, is another issue at all. It's another issue, period. So it's possible to hire somebody from a top-notch university who would not know anything about what you are doing in your particular company, and that person would then need to be trained. Well, given that...
But are they trainable?
Yeah, given that, I can see where a company would say, well, if we can identify people who are highly intelligent, who have not attended these top universities, why not identify those people and then give them the education with that for our needs that we see as necessary, and that is seems to be a fairly valid way of doing things.
Sure, why not? Test them. I mean, when you and I were hired, we had to come in and do a presentation and discuss our areas of knowledge, and before we were hired on.
Right.
So we had to be able to at least prove ourselves to a certain degree, and then we have that window time period where you are tenure track, and if you can't play the game, if you can't do the teaching, research, and service components to the level expected at that university, you will no longer be here.
True.
And that's just the game plan. You know it going in.
On the other hand, it's possible to test somebody, and that person could pass the test, but may not really have the depth of knowledge that passing that test represents.
Absolutely.
In other words, it may be possible to do a quick study and pass a test in medicine. However, over the years, medical schools have developed a fairly high quality standard of education for their students, and their students gain education over a wide range of processes,
And it's field-based, they are in the field.
And they're in the field, and they have accomplished this. So yes, it's possible to identify somebody who can pass a test in medicine. Is that person going to be? Can you feel as comfortable on hiring that person as you can a person who has graduated from an accredited medical school? That's the interesting question.
Well, I'm very quiet and subdued when it comes to talking with people, and I don't like to push myself forward when we're talking about different topics. So when you and I are talking, you may not get a feel that I actually know my stuff, know what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to say, you don't know what you're talking about. This is more appropriate. This is what the research suggests, and theoretically, this and the models, and I'm not going to do that because I don't like being the aggressor. I don't want to be offensive to someone else. You believe that? That's awesome. But because of that persona, because of that attitude, someone else may not recognize that I might know my stuff. So there is that little issue going on, the dichotomy going on in there about what you know and how much you are willing to aggressively present.
But you were also formally trained to get to this.
Amazing faculty, yeah. Lucky me, I had amazing faculty.
And there's one other point. We've reached the end of yet another edition of Technology and Education Today.
Nicely done.
I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. And again, we are coming to you from the University of Houston Clear Lake in Houston, Texas, USA. Bye!